Ministry podcast, where three of the OKS youth ministers talk about youth ministry. I'm Michael Deese, and we have a special episode today. We were unable to get together this week and record an episode together, and so instead what we are going to do is we're going to play one of the podcasts that we had recorded with Kirk Brothers, discussing his work as the president of Heritage Christian, and also about the book that he published about a year ago, or that he edited and had published about a year ago. And we really hope you enjoy the conversation. We are again at the M2Y Conference, and we are here with the legendary President Kirk Brothers.
That's funny.
We're really glad that you're with us, and we're going to talk about. We mentioned earlier the book In Christ's Image that you were the editor of, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about. I got to write one of the chapters of it.
Yes, I
appreciate
you.
Very excited about that. It was great.
And Hunter made the back cover. He actually did kind of the summary of the book.
One day we'll make it in a book, but right now we're taking the back cover.
Well,
at least you got in the back cover because Jeremy didn't get anything.
Well, that'll be the next podcast. We'll talk about. So Brad reached out to me and said, "What do you want on the back cover?" Is kind of a summary of the book, and we had just gotten Hunter's feedback on the book, and I said, "That looks pretty good to me," and so he said, "That works for me if it works for you." So.
Well, tell us a little bit, like your vision for it, and then what you did to get this started, and then eventually published.
Well, I think back when I started in youth ministry in the late '80s, and back then I got started in youth ministry, and I had a Bible, and I had a double major in Bible and mass communication. So it was all preaching training, it was all homiletics, scripture, mass communication, etc. And then I found myself in youth ministry, and I loved youth ministry, but I had zero training. Mm-hmm. So I went to every conference I could go to. I'm reading magazines. I remember having group youth magazine, group children's magazine. It was group and youth specialties were putting out everything back then. But all the books I could get my hands on, there was nothing out there written by anybody in the Churches of Christ. Now, they may have existed. They just didn't exist in my world. And then fast forward to when I started teaching at Freed in 2010.
And what a blessing that was. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I mean, seriously, it was career defining for me, for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. I love being there, and I tell folks when I came here to Heritage, I wasn't leaving. I just was going to something. I felt that there was something that God could use for us to make a difference in here. But I love, it's my alma mater, or one of my alma maters. I grew up going to Mid-South Youth Camp, so torn between two loves is what I talk about sometimes. I love Heritage Christian, but I also love Freed Hardeman. So we went there in 2010. Chuck Morris was doing a lot of the youth classes, had been for about 10 years. And David Baker had done some prior to that, but Chuck was basically handling a lot of that. And so we were trying to kind of transitioning. At first, we kind of did it together, and he was transitioning out. And so we mutually talked about what was needed for the future in the program. And in fact, I remember that it was the fall of 2010. Freed Hardeman was going through their Sachs visit. I can remember Brother Billy saying, "Hey, can you do the section on youth and family ministry?" I'm like, "I've been here like 15 minutes." And so, I really dove into what we'd been doing, and Chuck and I talked about what had been done in the program, looking what other brotherhood schools were doing. But anyway, as we were planning and dreaming and thinking about what needed to happen in that program, we talked about textbooks and a lot of those things. And what we found, like back then, I think Hardin and Rinks had a book. They'd been in youth ministry a couple of years, and they kind of talked about some beginning stuff.
Was that the Youth Minister's Honeymoon?
Yes, Youth Minister's Honeymoon. That was the only one I actually knew about. Now, it turns out that Lonnie had already done his book. He actually presented it here in '98, but I didn't know about it in 2010. And so it was out there. I just didn't know it. Everything that was written on youth and family ministry was written by folks from other Christian religious backgrounds. And there's a lot of great stuff out there, but I thought, man, I wish there was more written by people who operate in a context that's closer to the way I operate in, and the students operate in. And I wish we had a comprehensive, there are some textbooks out there that are used that are great, but there's nobody in there that's in the theological perspective, comes from that perspective that we do in the Restoration movement. And so we just talked about, wouldn't it be great if we had a comprehensive textbook that could be used at that time? There were 3 main youth ministry classes, if that was your major, specialized classes. What if we had something that could be used for all of those? And so we began to dream about it, but there was no didn't have a publishing house, we didn't have any money, and so it was just a dream. I would every once in a while I actually had a file that every once in a while I'd type down, if I ever did this, here's a chapter that would be great. I actually found one of my old files from 2012. I think there were 34 chapters. And, I just jot down, here's some people that might do this or might fit with this chapter. And it was when I came here, and one of the things that excited me about Heritage was Heritage Press and Cypress Press. Cypress Press does publishing more for the local church. Heritage Press is more the academic. Not that the academic is not for the local church, and not that the local church is not academic, but at that time, it was in 2019 that we started our Heritage Christian Leadership Institute. And when we started that, we targeted 5 initial books that we would like to do. And the third in that line, we wanted to do a Counseling for Church Leaders book, because we have a lot of folks out there, elders, deacons, preachers, etc., who don't have degrees in counseling, but they're helping people through their problems every day. So, how do you counsel when you're not a professional?
Hey, we all dealt with that in 2020. I know I did for sure.
So we wanted to do that first, and that we have found that was a good move, because it gets used everywhere. I went and grabbed a copy for somebody yesterday, an elder who was here at M2Y. The second one was the Lead Like the Lord book on the leadership of Jesus, and we put it out in 21, and we just translated it into Spanish. It came out like the week before the In Christ Image came out. And then the third in line was the youth ministry book. And so I started in earnest asking for authors in 2022. And so it took 2 years from that beginning, getting everybody's commitment in about August of 2022 until it was all edited and done. And y'all may have heard me say the other night, I'd like to write about 1,000 books before I edit. And I guess if it had been 12 or 13 chapters, but it ended up being 60 chapters and 64 authors, and there's still things we didn't cover.
Well, I know, I joked about this, but it's the truth. My chapter, it says exactly what I wrote. It's just organized a little better, and it says it in a better way, and it's smart. Because you're a good editor.
Well,
you did a great job with that. So
let me ask this, Kirk: as you may have said this a second ago, but how many programs are considering using this right now? Do we know?
I know right now I've had 5. I'll use it here, so it will be used. For example, in the spring, I'll do a Fundamentals of Youth Ministry short course in Panama. And so there will be students from Heritage who will be sitting in a class with students from the Bible School of the Americas in Panama. We got permission from our accrediting agency for our students to sit in, and they get credit in Panama, our students get credit here. And really cool. So we'll be using that book there. And then one of the things we'll be doing is we'll be putting an abbreviated version of that book in Spanish. We won't use all 60 chapters. We'll probably pick 15 that fit that context.
Correct.
But so I'll be using it for fundamentals, and then I will be teaching you. We studied adolescent spiritual development together. That's a grad class here, and so I'll be using it.
I have it with you next semester.
Next semester, yes. So if you've gotten your book at the 20% off, you're saving money. But then I know of at least 2 classes at Freed that are planning to use it, and at least 1 class at Faulkner that is planning to use it. We have 14 professors from Heritage, Freed, Faulkner, and Harding that are that participating in the writing of the book. I know in the two of the chapters I quoted from some research and writing done from Holly Allen at Lipscomb. She does a lot in the area of children's spiritual development, so I referred a lot to her work in one of my chapters, maybe a couple of them. I also brought in some research done by a professor at Oklahoma Christian, and so I know there's at least connections in those areas. So I know of at least 3 that are using it, and they may use it at Harding. We haven't had a chance to talk. Luke Dockery participated,
Yes.
as well as Jim Martin from Harding. Jim Martin, his wife is the son of one of our daughter, of one of our former presidents. But Luke, he spoke at the Youth Workers Workshop at Freed last year, and he has his own book, so he may use his own book, but I appreciate him participating, and basically his chapter has some of the highlights from his book on youth.
Wasn't his book Youth and Family Ministry? Something
like that.
Yeah.
And so he shared, I heard him do a presentation, or maybe a couple, at the Freed lectures, and I'm like, we need that in the book, so I reached out to him.
Yeah, he's really good.
Very talented.
Well, man, tell us a little bit about you're the president here at Heritage. Tell us a little bit about that before we close out.
Well, I love being here. What excited me about when I came here, I learned as a teacher, you can have influence in the classroom, but when it gets beyond that, you're not the one with any power, any influence. And so I liked here about the idea of unleashing other people's power. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that you be in a position where other people can speak into things, if that makes sense. And what excited me here is Heritage has a singular focus on, like, everybody here is a Bible major. All our degrees are Bible degrees.
Yeah.
And I like that singular focus that allows me we still have all your gen ed stuff. We're accredited and all of that. But I don't have the overhead. Like, David Shannon is one of my best friends, and he has overhead costs I don't have to deal with. Does that make sense? I don't have to buy Bunsen burners, okay? And so I can bring, like, we've got University of North Alabama, we've got a lot of PhDs that teach at our local K through 12 schools. You've got retired PhDs. So if I need a science teacher, et cetera, I can bring somebody in to teach as an audit teacher, and we do all of that stuff, but I don't have to run whole departments. And so because of that, our tuition it's smaller.
Right.
And we raise a lot of money, and so we're different in that we don't make money off of our students. Our students cost us money.
Yeah.
And I often say, and others here have said it before me, that we have a great mission model, a lousy business model. Okay, and so, but I was excited about students getting out without debt.
Yeah.
And so last year, 86% of our graduates graduated without borrowing any money while they were here. The year before, 100%. I think we've never had lower than 75% that graduated without borrowing any money since I've been here. 2 years, none of them did. And like last year, we've had 2 of our biggest classes. So that excited me because I've just seen too many guys, especially as you think about this being a youth ministry conference. I just saw too many guys that when their school loans kicked in, it was often about the time they wanted to have their first child. And they had no health insurance, and retirement. It just didn't add up. And so it wasn't that they didn't love the Lord, they just wanted to have a child, and they wanted to be able to put food on the table. So I wanted to remove that. So I enjoy what I do. I enjoy meeting people all over the country. I've run into a lot of my students. One of the first things, I remember that first summer traveling all over, there was almost never a church I didn't run into some of the students I had at Freed. And that was just fun.
Yeah.
It was just so fun.
So let me ask this, because I know that I've got a few students right now at Coleman that I think have potential to be fantastic in youth ministry.
Yes.
If you have a prospective student that's a junior, senior in high school, what does the process look like if they wanted to come check out Heritage, and what does that look like for them?
Yeah, I would reach out. I'd start out with Rebecca Harrison is our director of admissions. Rebecca and Caleb and Dwayne would love to talk to them. It's like it is at most of our schools. If you want to get in touch, you can go to our website and you can follow the links, or you can just do rharrison@hcu.edu and talk to them. We have a growing number of students that dual enroll. So sometimes students will do that, especially a lot of homeschool students will do that. But even folks at Christian schools, et cetera, they'll dual enroll in a class or two while they're in high school. It gives them a sense for how it works. And so some will come to campus. I found the younger students do better if they can be present.
Yeah.
the older students, and some of them can do fine from a distance. Older students can do well. You can learn just as much through distance learning, but you're going to have to be more disciplined. So 80% of our students are distance learners. Our average age is 36.
Okay.
But I mean, we have students. I guess probably if I looked at the books, I've got students. Well, I mean, you got high school students dual enrolling, and then we've probably got students in their 60s and 70s. I mean, it's all over the board. So I don't know if I answered your question
No, that's
really
great.
well, but just
Definitely.
reach out, and Rebecca, and come visit campus.
I have some right now that I'm planning to go home and talk to about.
Okay.
This is a possibility. So.
Well, some will come to our Titus camp. Our Titus camp is the week after Horizons. So, in fact, I'll go do Horizons at Freed, and then I'll come here, and there's usually 15 or 20 kids that I see one week, say, I'll see you next week, and they come over here. But we have several of the students, they'll come to Titus camp because they live in the dorms,
Right, yeah.
and they're here all week, and it gives them a feel for what it would be like, and then they just transition to becoming a student.
Yeah.
So they both get the benefits of the week, and they get introduced to what life might be like here.
Well, Kirk, man, we're just very grateful, thankful that you came and talked with us for this amount of time here, and I admire you. You're a huge influence on me and my ministry and the things that I learned when you came to Freed and were teaching us that. Man, you can see it's a passion of love, and it's just a ministry that you're killing it. You're just doing such a great job, and we
just
appreciate
serve a
you.
big God. I often describe, I have a prayer I pray to God, and I say, thank you for letting me stand on the seashore. Because I feel like the children of Israel, when Moses is up there lifting his rod and the sea parts, I feel like the rest of the children of Israel standing on the shore just watching it part, watching it come back together. And I get to see God do amazing things. And I think that's critical. If you ask me what is the one key thing that you have to do in ministry, in higher education, whether you're a professor or in administration, is it's all got to be about God and for God's glory.
Yeah.
And so I regularly thank him. You didn't have to do this while I was on the shore, but you let me stand there, and I'm very grateful.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Love you, dude. Thank
Love
you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed the interview that we had with Kirk Brothers. He is one of my favorite people in the world. He was the guy over all of the youth ministry track at Freed Hardeman while I was there, and he did an incredible job there, is doing an incredible job at Heritage, and will continue to do an incredible job wherever he goes. We're just very thankful for him, thankful for giving us some of his time. I know he's a very busy guy. And if you haven't already, check out the M2Y Conference, M2YConference.com, to register and get more information. We really hope that you'll join us this year at the Ministry to Youth Conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I hope your ministry is blessed. Thanks for joining us today in the important conversation of youth ministry. Go and follow us on Instagram and check out oksyouthministry.com for more information about our upcoming episodes. We'll be dropping a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. And hey, it's okay to be the OKS youth minister around, but let's all strive to be just a little bit better.